Don't force anything in life. 7 Stoic lessons that change everything. Stoicism. The quiet exhaustion. There's a kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from work. It comes from trying to make things work. That refuse to. You've felt it. That mental weight you carry without talking about it. The constant thinking. The constant adjusting. The constant trying. Trying to fix things. Trying to understand things. Trying to hold things together. And no matter how much effort you give, something still feels off. Not broken. Just not right. And that's the part that frustrates you the most. Because you're not avoiding effort. You're giving everything. So why does it still feel like you're pushing against something invisible? Why does it feel like life is resisting you? That question is where everything begins to change. Because the answer is uncomfortable, but freeing. You are not just living life. You are forcing it. Forcing conversations that don't flow. Forcing relationships that don't feel balanced. Forcing outcomes that don't arrive naturally. And the more you push, the more life pushes back. Over 2,000 years ago, Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Most people hear that. But they don't live it. Because they're too focused on controlling everything outside of them. People. Results. Timing. Recognition. But the truth is simple. You don't suffer because life is hard. You suffer because you're trying to control what isn't yours to control. In this video, you're going to learn 7 lessons. Not about doing more, but about forcing less. And if you stay with this until the end, you won't just understand these ideas. You'll feel a shift. Lesson 1: the more you chase, the more it runs. There's something people can feel. Even when you don't say anything. It's not your words. It's your energy. The energy of wanting something too much. Of needing something to happen. Of trying too hard to be seen. And that energy pushes things away. There was a young man who wanted respect more than anything. Not success. Respect. He wanted people to look at him and think, "This person matters." So he did everything he thought would make that happen. He spoke in every room. Shared his opinions constantly. Tried to prove his intelligence at every opportunity. But something strange kept happening. People listened. But they didn't respect him. They acknowledged him. But they didn't value him. And the harder he tried, the more distant people became. At first, he didn't understand. He thought, maybe I need to do more. So he pushed harder. And things got worse. Until one evening, after being ignored in a room he fought to enter, he sat alone. Quiet. No performance. No audience. Just himself. And for the first time, he asked a different question. Not, how do I impress them? But, why am I trying so hard? That question changed everything. Because he remembered something from Marcus Aurelius. Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. That line hit differently now. Because he realized. He wasn't focused on becoming. He was focused on being seen. So he stopped. Stopped forcing conversations. Stopped chasing attention. Stopped trying to prove himself. And something unexpected happened. People began to notice him. Not because he demanded it, but because he no longer needed it. And that's the truth most people miss. When you chase something desperately, you push it away. But when you become aligned with yourself, what's meant for you begins to move toward you. Lesson 2: Force creates resistance. There's a difference between effort and force. Effort feels steady, grounded, intentional. Force feels tense, heavy, desperate. Most people don't notice when they cross that line. They think, if it's not working, push harder. But sometimes, pushing harder is exactly what's making things worse. There was a man trying to build something from nothing. A business. A future. A life that meant something. At first, everything felt exciting. Every step forward felt like progress. But over time, things became harder. Clients said no. Plans failed. Results slowed. And instead of adjusting, he reacted. He pushed harder. More hours. More pressure. More urgency. But the more he forced it, the more everything broke. Mistakes increased. Decisions became rushed. Stress took over. Until one day, he reached a point where he couldn't continue. Not because he failed, but because he was exhausted. And in that moment of stillness, he saw something clearly. He wasn't building anymore. He was forcing. And forcing had turned everything into resistance. He remembered the words of Marcus Aurelius. The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. He realized. He had been fighting every obstacle, instead of learning from it. So he changed. He slowed down. He started listening. Not to other people, but to the process. He asked better questions. What is this trying to teach me? Instead of, how do I force this to work? And slowly, things began to move again. Because force creates friction. But understanding creates progress. Lesson 3. You cannot force people to choose you. This is where it becomes personal. Because the hardest things to let go of are not opportunities. They're people. There was someone who gave everything to a relationship. Not halfway. Fully. They were patient. Understanding. Always available. They believed that if they loved deeply enough, it would be returned. So they stayed. Even when it felt one-sided. Even when it felt draining. Even when it stopped feeling right. They kept telling themselves, it will get better. But it didn't. And slowly, they began to lose themselves. They stopped asking, is this right for me? And started asking, what more can I do? Until one day, they reached a breaking point. Not from rejection, but from exhaustion. And in that moment, they saw the truth clearly. You cannot force someone to choose you. No matter how much you give. No matter how much you care. No matter how patient you are. And they remembered something from Marcus Aurelius. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. And for the first time, they admitted the truth to themselves. This isn't right. This isn't balanced. This isn't real. So they let go. Not because it was easy, but because it was necessary. And in that space, they found something they had lost. Themselves. Lesson 4. Acceptance ends the inner fight. Most people think acceptance is weakness. That if you accept something, you're giving up. But that's not true. Acceptance is clarity. There was a man who lost everything he thought defined him. His job. His direction. His stability. And for months, he fought it. He replayed the past. Blamed circumstances. Resisted reality. But nothing changed. Until one day, he stopped fighting. Not because he gave up, but because he had no energy left to resist. And in that stillness, he accepted where he was. Not where he wanted to be. Not where he used to be. But where he actually was. And in that moment, something shifted. The tension disappeared. The confusion cleared. And for the first time, he could see clearly. He remembered the words of Marcus Aurelius. Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny. And he understood. Acceptance doesn't trap you. It frees you. Because you cannot move forward while fighting where you are. Lesson 5. Stop rushing your life. There is a pressure today to have everything figured out quickly, to succeed fast, to grow fast, to become something immediately. But life doesn't move like that. There was a young man who wanted success quickly. He didn't want to wait, didn't want to struggle. He wanted results. Now. So he rushed everything, jumped from one idea to another, chased every opportunity, forced progress. But nothing lasted. Because he wasn't building. He was reacting. One night, tired of starting over again and again, he stopped and reflected. And he remembered something from Marcus Aurelius. Nature does nothing in a hurry, yet everything is accomplished. That line stayed with him, because it challenged everything he believed. So he changed. He slowed down, focused on consistency, on small daily effort. And over time, everything changed. Because timing cannot be forced, but it can be respected. Lesson 6: Control is limited. There was a man who believed he could control everything. His plans, his future, his outcomes. But life kept reminding him that control is limited. Things didn't go as planned. People didn't act as expected. Situations changed without warning. And every time, he felt frustrated. Until one day, he stopped trying to control everything and focused only on what he could control: his thoughts, his actions, his response. He remembered, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." And for the first time, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: peace. Lesson 7: When you stop forcing, life flows. At the end of everything, what you're really searching for is not success. It's not recognition. It's not control. It's peace. And peace doesn't come from forcing life. It comes from understanding it, from letting go of resistance, from accepting what you cannot change, from trusting what unfolds. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a privilege it is to be alive." Because when you stop forcing life, you finally begin to live it. So remember this: not everything is meant to be chased. Not everything is meant to be controlled. Some things are meant to be released. And the moment you stop forcing what isn't meant for you, you create space for what is. If this spoke to you, share it. Because someone out there is still forcing what's breaking them. And subscribe. Because this is where you rebuild your mind.